Vote. Here. Pierce. Here. Lux. Here. Mattson.
Here.
And Campbell.
Here. All right, we are gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're gonna ask any veterans if they wish to, they can step forward and we can lead the pledge if they would like. If not, we will do it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to any veterans from today too. All right, I'm going to need a motion to approve the agenda, if there are no changes.
No, the only thing that's, I don't know if it's actually an agenda change, but our AD is out with AD duties, so he'll do his report next month.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right, motion carries. I don't believe we have any waivers, so we don't have to worry about that. Approved minutes from October 14th, Mary emailed them out. And unless there was any changes, I would be looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from October 14th. Second.
Expenditures, we have A through C on the agenda. If anybody wants to put something out, we can, but if not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the expenditures.
Make a motion to approve the expenditure A through C.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Number 55 is financial statements. And again, we have A through K on the consent agenda unless you want to pull anything out. If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve those financial statements.
Make motion to approve financial statements.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are to the patrons and others. So 56, we have A, which is the 2025 audit. Bruce is not here, but you had something.
Bruce is not here. He began the audit and he's up on fourth floor. If you guys have any questions, Amber has the entrance letter that we just need signed.
So we just need, yes, we don't need to do a motion on that, right? We're just signing it. All right, one more G. All right, and the next item is a red ribbon week essay and poster contest, and Miss Price is here to present those. Whatever you would like to.
I didn't realize there was something here. Okay, so,
Red ribbon.
okay, so I made copies, I dropped a few, you'll have to share. At the middle school last year and this year, we did like a red ribbon homeroom to homeroom competition. And, so you can kind of see in there what the things we did, but we did dress up days, we had daily announcements. I hid red ribbons every day, the kids could find them for like bonus points for their homeroom. Classroom dress up counted as points towards their classroom, their homeroom. So the very last page of the packet, if you look at it, is kind of the point totals. Every homeroom had an opportunity to get like bonus points by tying ribbons on trees, doing coloring sheets for their lockers, word finds. I think that's about it. And then every homeroom created a puzzle piece, and then the puzzle pieces all went together as a larger puzzle on a bulletin board near our library. And so I had a few judges come and kind of score the puzzle pieces, 1 to 10, and then that was also part of their score for homerooms. And so Monday, we crowned, not this Monday, but last Monday, we crowned like our winners of our homeroom. And so the Lawrence County Coalition helps pay for prizes for that. So our first place got a pizza party, our second place got a pop float party, and our third place just got some like candy to share in their homeroom. So the kids kind of get into it. Every year it gets a little bit bigger, I think, and a little bit more exciting. So if you have any questions, let me know. Any questions?
Good job.
It was fun. We had a good week. So, and we'll do a kindness type thing too, during Random Acts of Kindness Week, I think February, March time. And then we do a whole week too, kind of similar. So we try to do it a couple times throughout the year. So.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. All right, we are to item 57, which is new business. We have contracts and resignation.
Okay, we just have one resignation, and that's Sylvia Trent, elementary paraprofessional. We'll be sorry to see her go. But I think she's moving, correct, Jay?
Yeah.
Dan?
Sold her house. Yeah.
So we wish her well.
So we just need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract and resignation.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is to approve the memorandum of understanding for the SRO agreement.
The MOU, is basically the same agreement we've had in past years. I think, maximum $12,500, from the city of Lead. 25%, salary and benefits from the city of Deadwood. And then the Lead-Deadwood School District picking up the balance of that.
Motion to approve the MOU agreement.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Approve lunch policy EFC to amend the policy that was adopted in January of 2024. We did go through this last time with some kind of questions and things that had come up with it. We just need to decide if we're going to approve that as amended.
So I guess I would entertain any discussion by the board. And look for that. Do you have a copy of that, Archie? Andy? I think that the part that if I recall, the part that there was some question about was kind of in the enforcement stages, and we've got people that don't pay school lunch accounts for a variety of reasons. Some people are unwilling to pay, or I should say, some people are unable to pay. Some people are just unwilling to pay. There are different circumstances. And what we typically do is when that account balance exceeds $50, then the principals make a phone call, and it's always been our practice to be as understanding as we can that, if people want to make payments towards bringing that balance down, if they're willing to work with us, we always work. But the proposed wording, and this goes back to, correct, Margie, it goes back to a previous policy that we had.
Yeah, and the previous months attached to that as well.
Okay. And that wording is building principals will contact parents, guardians when meal account balances exceed $50. If communication attempts are unsuccessful, efforts to recover delinquent balances on meal accounts may progress to using the courts to seek reimbursement or enlisting the help of the school attorney. So I guess that's the point of discussion. So I'll let the board discuss that.
Yeah, I'm the one that had the biggest, I think, rub there. I just don't like the idea of us utilizing the courts in order to, try to get back that money. If it was up to me, we wouldn't be in this situation where kids have to worry about paying their meals. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in. We don't have a state that does cover those costs, and I understand that that is a expense to our district and then also to our taxpayers. My proposed change in wording would be to take out courts and bringing in the school attorneys and just go to collections. I feel like that gives us a little bit of removal from the process, and that also gives our families a little bit more room to work without resorting directly into the court system as well, if it becomes necessary. Now, I did have some discussions with people that are familiar with how the collections process works, as far as, what the cost would be to us, and it's not insignificant. But you pay based on, I'm just gonna throw a number out there, say 30%. To collections if they are able to gain back that balance. So say someone owes us $500, and collections is able to successfully get that $500, then we would have to pay 30% of that $500 to collections, but we don't pay any of that money until such time as that collection is made. I guess that would be my suggestion would be, I do not want to see courts and attorneys in that policy at all. I would like to see us use more, I guess, I prefer the language of collections over that.
So I guess I'm fine with it as it is. It does say may. I don't think in our time if we actually we can probably count on one hand the amount of times we've gone to court over a thing. We try to work with the kids, whatever's going on in their lives. And we try to go that way, but it leaves us the tool if we have to do it.
And let me correct, so, and I know what you guys mean, but like, we don't work with the kids.
Well, we work with
the
the
parents.
parents to deal with theirs. Yeah.
You know, and that's also in our policy that students are never confronted about their school lunch. Like we never, ever go to kids and say, hey, you need to get this paid.
Yeah.
Hey, can you tell mom to pay the lunch bill? That never happens. It's always dealing with parents and guardians. It's their responsibility.
I would say, I mean, I understand that we're not in a position, or that we have not historically used the courts. However, I think we also need to look at who's gonna be here in the future when we're not. And is that attitude gonna change? And are we gonna end up in a position, where utilizing the courts ends up with saying a family loses their means of transportation because, you know, that's how the sheriff's office enforces, you know, getting that money back once there is a judgment against that family. That's my biggest issue with it.
Well, I think that going to collections, that's in the end, that's usually the same process.
Elections.
They go to court too, and then they execute the judgment. This thing
Potentially.
will be- So
Potentially, but it also gives us a layer of removal from it.
it does, I think. Collection agencies were pretty ruthless compared to, we're more of a kinder, gentler, and, attitude than collections would be, because that's their bread and butter. If they don't collect, they don't make money, and so that can be pretty rough.
And then another thing with that too is that, you know, and again, this is in conversations I've had with other agencies that utilize collection services, is that if in that event, the family were to come back and say, hey, we want to pay this bill, that is a potential option as well. It would all depend on whatever agreement you came up with and whoever you utilize for that purpose, if you were to go that route or not.
So I think I think at this point, we have a policy in front of us with the wording. Lexi has asked for it to be changed, but ultimately we have to take a vote on it. So I think at this point, the writing that's there is what was presented. So I guess I would say we can see what happens with the vote.
Well, either
If it comes up to it
Lexi
or
could,
change it.
either Lexi could move to
Yep.
change the wording, or someone else could move to approve as is, so.
And if it's the collection efforts, which could be towards board collections, and then it covers both.
And where I
That
got
would defeat the purpose.
when
I know.
purpose
I know.
of collection
I don't really
is,
want it to say collection.
right. Well, and where I found that is I looked at other school districts' policies and what they utilize. And some other districts surrounding us are using that wording, collection efforts, instead of courts, lawyers, things like that. That's where I found that.
So somebody should make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we change the wording of the policy to say, collection efforts as opposed to the courts. Let me find it. Find it in the packet here real quick.
It's not in the packet. You have to go to.
No, I meant the one from last year. Or I mean, last month.
There's that one. Yeah.
Thank you. So may progress to using, collections efforts to seek reimbursement. Would be my motion.
What does it say now?
So I would say building principals will contact parents, guardians when meal account balances exceed $50. If communication attempts are unsuccessful, efforts to recover delinquent balances on meal accounts may progress to using collection efforts to seek reimbursement.
Right now it says court.
Right now, it says using the courts to seek reimbursement or enlisting the help of the school attorney. My recommendation motion to amend would be, may progress to using collection efforts to seek reimbursement.
You know, we have a motion.
I don't think a letter from the school attorney would.
Well, I think it could. But how much are we also paying for that letter from the school attorney?
We do currently use that, and it's a pretty minimal cost.
I think the motion was made to make the change. We would need a second. Okay, so the motion would die due to a lack of a second.
And then
So
do we
then
have
we
a
can-
motion on
We do
the,
not have any other motion right now
I think that's the question before the board. Does anybody else want to make a motion?
to approve the policy as written.
Make a motion to approve policy as written.
And we have a motion and a second to approve the policy as written. All in favor?
No,
Nay. So you have 4-1, do you need to do a roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, roll call.
Roll
That
call.
would be aye.
Yep, I vote. Deers. Aye. Lux.
no,
Mattson.
Aye.
Campbell.
Okay, so it would pass with a 4-1, the motion would carry. Okay, thank you. We have 2 open enrollment requests. Both of them, it looks like were previous, or students
Current students.
currently, but they moved elsewhere. So, but they would like to remain in school here.
Make a motion to approve the open enrollment request.
second,
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Have your guys' copies back of those, please. Have to make you something on the back. Thank you, guys. Okay, so the next one is to approve the map club request that was in the packet.
This will be a club account, and for policy, it says that all club accounts that are established need to be approved by the board. So I don't know if Mr. Embrock wants to comment more on this, but, Betty Campbell and Lexi Stiff want to start a club. They'll meet every Tuesday during lunch to do puzzles, games, and then basically to get ready for the math contest in May.
Okay, so we would just need, we have a lot of these club accounts, so we just need to approve the club request.
Make a motion to approve the math club request.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So before we go into item up, it's review plan for school development phases. I just wanted to explain, because I know we do have some speakers here that is free to sign them. We have a change order, it's not on the agenda.
Oh.
It's not on the agenda.
It's on the one that's posted.
Oh, okay. So,
So there was a change to the agenda then after we got
I
it.
guess so.
So F was what?
Change order number 4.
That's the one that's in the board.
Oh, the one in the board packet
Yeah.
has this?
Yeah,
Okay, was the one that was posted
correct.
that, okay.
Yeah.
So where did this,
Those were printed. Those were printed. Before.
Okay.
oh,
Yeah.
All right, so sorry, we'll do, so it was on the one that was on, as well as in our packets and on those. It's on outside, so that's fine. So F was a change order number 4. We'll have, is that Bill?
That change order, I believe, was that shower pan.
No, electrical work.
The ceiling.
Oh, they were changing some electrical work as far as those, there's some not really offices, but there's some rooms that are across the hall from where we're doing this. They, are gonna end up having to change the lighting and some of the electrical going through those rooms.
Get to the new stuff.
Yep,
The amount on that is $5,210.99.
Make a motion to approve the change order number 4.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
So it would be G. Is that the review plan, just to make sure that's correct? So G is the review plan for school development phases. Is that right? So
Yes.
before we get into that, I just kind of wanted to explain to anybody in the room, the process that we have is, as we're going through this, this is just a discussion amongst the board. We did have 5 people sign up with, public forum speakers. That'll be under item 60 at the end. If anybody else in the room wants to talk during that time, we do have a form that you need to fill out beforehand. And it's just right up there. So if you can get that filled out and hand it to Mary before we get to that point, that would be great. So just to kind of let you know.
And it's super easy to fill out.
Yep,
like
it's just
your
real
name
quick
and-
name. But just in case anybody came in late, I wanted them to make sure they had an opportunity to fill that out. So then with that, just
Okay.
go through your,
Yep, so we've, as you know, we've been talking about this for some time. And kind of, we've got a committee put together, we've been progressing slowly forward on exploring the possibility of doing some development on the school district owned land. And there's, as you know, there people have varying opinions about it. Some of the neighbors are here, I think, to express that they don't want to see it happen. And I think that it's important that we, I think, as we hear all of these opinions, I think it will ultimately help us to come to better decisions. So I think that's a good thing. And we've got some dialogue going on. And I've talked to a few of these guys in the last week or the last few weeks, and we kind of explained, and I had shown you guys on that proposed timeline. I kind of put that out to the board last week as, to give you something to react to. And, if you recall, I asked that we're not going to approve anything with that timeline tonight. We'll kind of put it out there, talk about it, and then make a decision down the road. And I think one thing that is becoming evident is it would probably be a good idea to make a little bit of a switch. And in that proposed timeline, we had to approve said timeline in December, and then try and hold a public meeting where we could actually have some dialogue with the public, give people a chance to ask questions of the board, the administration, the committee members, whomever, and have a little bit of back and forth. And I think it might be prudent to put that ahead of approving that timeline or ultimately approving that plan. So I've got a few things I'm just going to kind of go through here, hit on some questions that have kind of come up. I'll try and keep it brief because I really would like the board to have a little bit of discussion on this. I guess, the big question that comes up a lot is, why is the district exploring this? Why are we looking at this? And I think that it's no surprise that we find housing to be a challenge here in Lead-Deadwood, particularly in our school district. I think in both communities, in Lead and Deadwood, and I see Bill Pearson back there, and he's, I think, done one of the greatest things that this community really needs is, like in that stage road development. I think Mr. Embrock lives in that area, and I think that's the kind of housing we need more of in this community. And I really think that as that stage run fills up, hopefully it fills up with families, but I think we know it's gonna be a mixture, not all families. But I think down the road, in the future, we're gonna need even more, for the viability and the sustainability of our school district, So I think the big impetus for this is that we know we've got an issue with housing for families. I think that decline in enrollment is hitting us a little harder than some other communities where housing is more readily available. I think we can all attest to that. We've seen it anecdotally. Also, I know that we've experienced situations where we've offered a contract to a teacher, a staff member, and they interviewed, they're excited about it. And then within 24 hours, we get a call back, hey, I'm not gonna take the job because I got on realtor.com and man, I don't think I can make that work. And you try and sell it as best you can. Usually by the time you get that phone call, they've made up their mind. Like, I can't afford to live there. And we kind of prep people that, housing's a challenge, but people do find good places to live. This is a good place. And somebody brought up the question, well, why don't you just tell your teachers when you hire them go live in Spearfish and then drive. It's a short drive and it's beautiful. And, I think we really, if people choose to do that, that's certainly their right. But I think as a school district, we really want to, try and build an investment in our community, and have people invested in our school community to the extent possible. So another question that has come up is, does the school district have the legal authority to do this? Is this even legal, to do this kind of thing? And number one, yes, the school district has the authority to sell property. And that's been one of the challenges where we've pivoted a little bit on this. Is initially, if you recall, we talked about doing an RFP and trying to get developers to kind of bid on it, maybe not with dollars being the highest criteria, but maybe meeting the needs of building some family type housing, that kind of thing, and have a competitive bid process through an RFP. And we kind of found out that that proved to be a little too challenging when we look at the bid laws, which are pretty straightforward. Or the surplus property laws in South Dakota, that when the school district surpluses property, it has to go to the highest bidder. End of story. And so the committee kind of pivoted and looked at doing some platting to break it up into chunks, and with the idea that maybe at some point portions of it could be sold for development purposes, portions of it could be retained by the school district, potentially for staff housing, if we would deem that appropriate, and some of it might just never be developed. And so there's another law I'd like to point out, South Dakota Codified Law 1324-9, specifically states that any school board shall have the power to erect, purchase, lease, rent, sell, equip, among other things, dwellings for teachers' homes, or other enclosures the board shall deem necessary. So it's very clear in state statute, and there are other school districts who have done this. So there is legal authority for the board to do that if the board would so choose. And then another question that comes up is, what due diligence has the district done to explore the feasibility of the project? And I think we've heard from a lot of people that it's not feasible. I think I've been told it's going to cost you $1 million to put sewer to these particular houses on Greer Avenue and some things like that. And the district has done, through the committee and through consultation with city employees, contractors, the folks at TerraSite, who are, what do you call their business? They're kind of.
TerraSite Design just got purchased by Interstate Engineering in Spearfish.
Okay.
I just got that notice on Thursday, so
Well, there you go.
we're dealing with both of those entities.
Yeah,
now.
and we've dealt with Interstate and TerraSite. And, but basically they plan, and design developments. They've been, consulting with us on that. So we don't, it's a process, and we don't have all of the answers to every question yet because we're still in the process. And then, so then that leads to the question of what happened to the idea, because we've pivoted a little bit and now the focus has been a little more, and if you recall, as we've talked about this, the focus has been a little more on trying to identify kind of low hanging fruit, if you will, the lots that might be suitable to build on sooner than later, that wouldn't cost as much for infrastructure, roads, sewer, that kind of thing. And a big part of that was just looking at, like, kind of in the heart of that thing, was, the idea was that sewer, for instance, could gravity feed down and go to a lift station that's there. And as we inquired about that, like through the city, we found out that lift station we've been told it's at capacity, and that it's, nope, you're not gonna add 30 homes to that or 50 homes to that. That's, okay, yeah, like we've been told that. And so, that's the thing, we're doing our due diligence with this. We're in a process of, and I think it's important, and I can certainly respect people have different opinions on this stuff, but I think it would be, I don't think anybody can fault us for inquiring about how to utilize a resource that the district owns, to potentially work towards solving some of the district's problems. And so that's kind of what the process that we are in right now. And that's really what's driving looking at, okay, the big development thing, bringing, more homes for families and having that happen. That doesn't look real feasible in the short term. So we thought, okay, what about, and we've kind of talked from the beginning, retaining a certain amount of that property for, some staff housing. So that when you have that situation where you have an employee or a new hire that is reticent to sign the contract because they don't think they're scared by the housing situation, you kind of have that in your back pocket to say, well, what if the school district could rent you a house, a nice house for, say, a year, 2 years, while you find the home that you want in our school district? And so that's kind of the strategy that the committee's been looking at, and been looking at that in a couple of different ways. One way would be, and just to be clear, we know the school district doesn't have the capacity to go put up 10 homes right away and do this. It would be a thing that would happen over time. It's like maybe one a year or one every other year, and those are decisions that would be made down the road. That decision hasn't been made yet. But another thing we look at is, we started to kind of run some numbers and look at the idea of, some of that land up by where the, Black Hills Energy, by the water tower where Black Hills Energy substation is gonna go. Maybe do a little cluster of 3, 4 tiny homes. And we are in the process of researching what the city allows. We've been told different things. We've been told 500 square feet is the minimum. We've also been told 400 square feet is the minimum. So we need to kind of pin that down. But guess what? We're not breaking ground and building a house tomorrow. So, we've got time to get those answers. But those might meet a little different need as well. So those are a lot of the things that are kind of being looked at. And another big question that comes is on the big development idea. Well, who would put in that infrastructure? And I think that we all agree the school doesn't want to become land developers. We're not going to build roads and put in like all these sewer mains and run all these utilities. That would fall to the developer that purchases that. That would be their responsibility. Another question that came up was, who would take on the responsibility, would the school district be equipped to maintain a property, like a rental house or something like that? And I guess to that, I would say, we've got really a strong maintenance department right now. We maintain $80 million worth of buildings right now. So I think an additional 400 square foot house, I don't think would be the tipping point to where that would fall apart. But anyway, those are some of the things. That was kind of a quick and dirty update on progress that's been made so far and questions that we've been asked. And I think that if we look at, does the board have copies of this proposed timeline? Okay, I don't know that this got in the board packet, so I did make some copies. Okay.
You emailed it to
I
me.
think we had it.
Yeah, I emailed it to you, but I don't think it got in the board packet. So if anybody out in the crowd would like one, and they're like, we'll have to share a little bit, but you want to see if they want to pass those around, take a look.
And this is the one where you were talking about, this might change, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just putting something on paper for the board to look at as far as a timeline, to kind of quantify when we might make decisions on this stuff. And so all of this is subject to the board's discussion. And we're not approving this tonight. That's the one change I would say, like where we say, public information meeting. I think it'd be a good idea to try and schedule that for December. So we can have kind of a dialogue with some of the public at that time, give people a chance to ask questions and get answers to the extent we can. And then I think push the approval of this, or the amendment of this, or whatever we're gonna do with it, out into January. So with that, I would guess I would ask the board to chime in on some things and give some of your opinions or your thoughts or anything like that.
I sit on the committee, it's been almost 3 years of working on that committee. We don't take it lightly. There's been a lot of behind the scenes stuff and we're nowhere near actual building a house. So just so everybody knows that we're not to that point yet, we're not asking for that. But we are to a point that we have to do some plating in order to set it up for whether we're going to sell it or not. We're trying to break it into smaller tracts so that, and smaller, I mean, right now it's one big piece. It's about 100, right at 180 acres. That's really hard to, we don't want to sell the whole 180. That's never been the intention. But to make it a little more feasible, we're breaking it into about 4 different tracks. That's what you're gonna see coming up. It's like the City of Lead meeting. It'll be 4 tracks. We'll have the phase that we kind of want to look at for future development, and then the stuff that we're really not gonna do anything with right now. But we want to have it into smaller pieces, so if and when we do decide to sell it, it makes it a little easier and more manageable to sell. So we're not selling 180 acres. That's kind of what it is. And so the platting is, I think, the thing that you're gonna see right now. It's not platting it into 52 lots, it's platting it into 4 tracks. And so you'll have the stuff that's kind of way off the beaten path, which almost touches Nevada Gulch Road. A little harder to get to, but we're gonna break that into 1 tract. You're gonna have the stuff kind of in between into 1 tract, and then the stuff that's closest to Greer, and then the phase, which is where we're looking at the tiny houses and approximately 5 to 7 lots, give or take. We don't have that plat back, which is why the timeline is the way it is. The Interstate Engineering is working on it right now, so we don't have that to share. If we had it, we would share it with you, but we don't have the information yet. So that's kind of where that is. I know that has come up with some of my discussions that I've had with people. We are trying to put very strict covenants together that we want to get recorded against all of the land, so that if and when something happens, it still meets the school's needs. That's really the 2 things that we're looking at doing right now. And then from there, we would have the public meeting. And then who knows? I mean, I can't say right now that it may not happen, but right now we do need to get some plats approved. Plats aren't gonna hurt anything. People plat property all the time. You can sit on it and have it be tract 10 for, you know, I think it's tract A through, what do we do, 1 through 4? I think they were going back and forth, A through D or 1 through 4.
Well, there's track 1A and B.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So ultimately, that's what we're looking at, right? And the platting is just platting. I don't get too worried about plats. People plat property all the time. But I know that was a big thing, is I think people felt that we were gonna like go to the City of Lead with 50 some lots. That's not what's happening right now. So just so everybody knows that, that is not what they're getting presented. But we do have to get to this point. If you remember, we did end up annexing all of that inside the city limits of Lead. So we went through that process for annexation. So all of that property is now inside city limits of Lead. There is no county property left in that. So that's just kind of a couple things I know I was questioned. I had, you know, people had asked me about, so I wanted to make sure.
And not everybody might be know about the substation.
Yep.
You mentioned it, but that piece of property will have to be platted.
Yep.
And then parcel to transfer that to Blackfield Energy.
Yeah, and this might be a good time to bring that up too, that there were some lots, you know, when we first started talking about this, there were some lots in the city of Deadwood. I think it was 2 lots and they were a total of, I don't know, 8 acres or something like that. And the city wanted that, and they wanted that to be part of their trail system they're putting in. And so the city had approached us if we'd be willing to part with that. And we agreed on a price for, right at 45,000. I think we ended up netting, if you remember, 44. Yeah, 44, 442. And, also then, so we've had a little bit of expense in doing some of this engineering work, some of this platting that we've kind of committed to. And we're gonna have a total of, and we also have 50,000 budgeted in the current fiscal year, to go towards some of that site planning and that kind of thing. And again, that's within the, that's within the rights of the school board to do that. But also along with that, with the sale of that land for the substation, we anticipate that will bring in another chunk of money. I don't want to use the word equivalent, but in the ballpark of what that Deadwood land brought. So when you look at putting that against the total expenditures that are gonna end up being around 70,000 with that, it's gonna be, I don't want to sit here and say, well, no tax dollars are gonna be used for this. But we've been pretty cautious that in this phase, before we really committed to a hard course of action, we really kind of want to protect the tax dollars and try and utilize proceeds from those other sales. So I do have some copies of this spreadsheet that Margie had made. So you can go ahead and pass those around, and if anybody else wants to see it, have you shared that with any of these guys?
Monday, I shared with a few of them.
Okay, so some of them already have it. Okay.
So does anybody have, other board members, do you have any?
Yes.
Would you think interested? This has all been discussed. You guys have been a part of this discussion for almost 2 years. I don't think we're at a point that we're not asking you to approve anything tonight. It was just informational because, we try to do these every couple months of letting you know where it's at.
I don't have any major concerns at this point. I have heard from a couple of people with concerns about what we're doing, and I think it's the same thing that you talked about with your summary of it. Right now, I think that if we are going to look at breaking it into these different flats, then that doesn't mean that we're committing to doing this particular project, but it does move us a little bit further in direction. Potentially, I do really like the idea of us doing some public meetings. And I certainly would love to see everyone in this room attend those meetings and more. I can tell you that, myself being a younger person living in this community, it is incredibly difficult to find housing, especially post 2020s. And I live out in this stage around neighborhood myself. And one thing I will say is that we do have quite a few kids and young families in that neighborhood. And I do enjoy seeing that as well. And I would love to see more families in our area.
I think where the platting becomes important, and I think we all know kind of too what the market is doing right now. And I think that, for a large scale development, I think for that to really be attractive for a developer, we're a ways off from that. But I think it kind of gets us prepared that if there's a time when the board says, hey, we want to jump on that, like the legwork is kind of done, it's ready, and we've kind of answered some of the questions that come along with it.
I will add, I should have said this a minute ago too. I used to live in that neighborhood. And so I very much see where people are coming from that particularly live in that neighborhood as well. So
Are you talking about hers?
yeah, in the Hearst addition, yes. I used to live up on Greer Avenue myself, so I very much understand, a lot of the concerns that we're hearing from people that live in that neighborhood as well.
And we've also heard from a number of people that think it's a good idea too. It's not all negative, but at the end of the day, if it's not what the board deems appropriate, my job is to do the homework and kind of package this in a way that it kind of makes sense. It's something we can look at, and there's quite a bit of work in there, and I haven't done that myself. We've had a committee of 9 people from a variety of backgrounds, and so that's kind of my job, is to bring that to the board, and then it's going to be your job to decide, and it's going to be your job to either commit to it or say, no, that's not for us.
So is there, I guess, do you have anything else, Tim, or you, I mean, really today it was just to show you this timeline of kind of what the approach was gonna be. We would move the public meeting to December instead of January, so we'll plan that. Do that a little bit sooner, and then we're still waiting on the plat. We don't have it yet to share. We were hoping it would maybe be done, but it didn't get done yet, so. We don't have that yet, and then we would have it though, hopefully by that public meeting. And then that way we would have like an actual packet to be able to share, hopefully, would be the goal.
And I think at that public meeting, it would be appropriate to put like some maps up there.
Yeah, the
Yes.
maps, the covenants, like we have most of that in draft form. It's just not, I mean, we can't record anything until the plat is dealt with, isn't plat yet, so.
And some of those documents that have been internal and have not been shared publicly, like I've had people ask for some of those things. And and I've not wanted to give it to the public before I give it to the board. And then also just like informational documents I've put out in the past over this, like if you remember, there was one that looked like this, and it was just information on what the plans are gonna be or what's being explored. Well, even a lot of the stuff has changed from that. So, once you put something out there, make it a public document, bring it to a board meeting and it becomes a public document, then it can get confusing for people that, hey, I thought it was this, now it's this, and, because people don't maybe come to every meeting and they don't follow the evolution of the process, and so, we've really been trying to be transparent with it. But,
We haven't changed the whole lot though.
no, but we were still looking at the RFP at that time. Yeah.
Which we found we can't do.
Yeah.
It would have been easier, but
This discussion about the land is a long, ongoing discussion. I've been on the board, off and on for 13 years. And we've been talking about it for at least 13 years. About what to do with the property that we own. How do we get that on the tax roll? How do we, because we are self-funded by property tax. How do we get that on the tax roll? And what do we do with that property? So this is not a new discussion. It's just that it's never come this far and this much detail in this discussion. So I think it's good that we have this discussion and we move forward. Some things came up like Black Hills Energy wanted a piece of property for a substation, which kind of drives a few things. So I think it's good to have this discussion. I think the community needs to have the discussion. A lot of people probably didn't even know we had all this land up there on the hill.
And honestly, if we were gonna do something with this, I wish it would have happened 15 years ago when prices were different and, but I think we can see a lot of places where people are building now that 20 years ago, you just said, oh, nobody will ever build there. And then now there are houses there.
I will say too, I've had conversations with people that have actually had some pretty innovative ideas for ways that we can improve even our current, housing needs. And I've brought those questions and ideas to board members that have been here longer than I have. And I've been, had those discussions about, what is the feasibility in doing these things, too. So, and I guess my impression from having those conversations with more senior board members was that, trust me, these are all conversations that we've had in the past and we are trying to work on what's gonna be the best option, for our families on the ground and also for our district and our students.
okay, so, like I said, there's nothing that you guys need to approve tonight. If, I think what Dr. Pearson would like is if you guys would look over this projected timeline, if you want to see something changed or you want it to take longer or whatever, if you could talk to Dr. Pearson and, maybe give him what you don't like about the document for now, that would be helpful. And then this would get presented again in December. What are we? November, whatever, we're in November, December. It'll get presented again in December and then we'll decide from there. And then hopefully by then we can have the public and planning stuff.
We're getting to a tricky time of year to schedule things, but I think we're gonna start looking at dates and I guess I'm gonna start with the board. And start putting together dates, hey, does this work for you? And then try and get something out there to the public that, hey, here's when we wanna do this, have this discussion.
Now, please tell me if I misheard that, but did I understand that this is gonna come in front of the board in December. But were you also potentially looking at it going, like having a public meeting in December?
We're hoping to do the public meeting before.
Yeah, well, or
I wanted to make sure.
like flip flop on that timeline and actually approve this in January. Maybe do the public meeting first. In December.
I just really feel like December's such a busy month, that's a public meeting. If you wanna have good attendance.
I think if you do it early December, you can. Like,
But I think if we made Christmas cookies,
I think Christmas cookies.
I think it would really bring you.
I think early December, get through Thanksgiving and then have it, you'd have to have it like that first 2 weeks, I think, of December to make it work.
Well, we'll look at the dates and we'll send them to you, and if December isn't gonna work, then we'll.
That we would have more public meetings the further we got into this project, so. I mean, obviously have the public meeting in, say, December to go over this particular piece of it, but if we were to proceed further with this, do another public meeting in May or something like that too.
Well, and it's hard to say,
Right.
depending on what the plan is. I mean, if you have a public meeting and then you decide to do nothing, there's not a need for another public meeting.
Do another one, exactly.
Okay. So that was all there was for presentation wise tonight. And then, the next item is correspondence from the Lead-Deadwood Middle School staff.
Who we have there?
Or is that thank you for just
Yep. Then we have, 2 administrator reports now because Zach's not here, so the superintendent's report.
Oh, I'm sure people are tired of hearing me talk, but it hasn't cleared the room yet. So let's go ahead. Yeah, I've got a few things. So we got a bit of good news. Margie mentioned to me yesterday, and it just kind of timing was just right. She said, "Hey, we got this guy that offered to write a check to pay the delinquent lunch bills in the elementary, so they're not going to be sent to collections or court. Okay, but and would bring them current up to, as of Monday." And she said, "Hey, do you want to come downstairs and meet him? He's driving up right now." I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. So, yeah, it was over $9,000 and really kind of a generous thing. And one thing he did, and Margie got a thing she's gonna read, the one comment he made that was he talked about like Jennifer Garner, like the actress, we all know who that is, that she did a project where she would go and give stuff to homeless people and drive around and do that. And she kind of took a lot of criticism because she was public about it, like, "Hey, I'm doing this." And she took a lot of heat that like, "Oh, you're just doing that for attention." And what this guy said was, well, her response was, reason I'm making it public is that maybe that will spur other people to be generous as well. And so he's like, that's kind of like, I'm trying to get the Jennifer Garner effect here, that maybe somebody else will donate to bring those lunch balances down or whatever. And so, I'm sure that like starting now, yesterday and today, they're starting to build back up, but that was really great. Margie.
Yeah, he asked that I, excuse me, read this letter. And it says, to Lead Elementary School from Deborah K. McCoy. She's from Lenox. It says, attention, please accept this donation of $9,058 for the express purpose of paying off all student lunches currently in arrears. Please acknowledge that this payment has been made and confirm in writing to Deborah at the above address. God bless this school and all who walks in its halls. Sincerely and Merry Christmas, Deborah K. McCoy.
Very nice.
So that's good. We'll start my report with a little bit of good news. And so, and thank you for the work you're doing on that as well. So, real quickly on our school safety plan, I'm kind of excited to report that the superintendent, principals, transportation director, I think you got an invite to that meeting, Bill, right?
Yeah, I've seen it this afternoon.
Okay, on Friday, and the SROs, we're gonna meet and we're gonna talk about, doing like an evacuation drill. Whether that is, probably with all staff. We talked about whether we think it's appropriate to do students in there, that kind of thing. Kind of going over and it's, that school safety plan and that crisis plan is so important, and it's just something that, it's so hard to find time to get all the key players together. So that's good that we're getting that put together here for Friday. I shared with the board a little bit, that we are in the midst of beginning an alternative school study. The admin team is working on, basically a study that, comes directly from the strategic plan that the board approved in October. And, some of the things that have already happened with that, and basically we were looking at, not all students are successful in a traditional school setting. Schools everywhere, and especially in South Dakota, are being hit hard with, kids transitioning to homeschool. And I think in South Dakota, this is an oversimplification, I get it, but like in South Dakota, I kind of put the homeschoolers in two buckets. You have what are the traditional homeschoolers, and then you have the no schoolers, basically legalized dropouts. And since the legislature took away any accountability for homeschooling, and I understand the reason for that, but since that happened, since the laws changed a few years ago, there's just been a flood of families that they're up against the truancy policy, they're being reported for truancy, and then they come in with the homeschool thing. No, we're homeschooling, or student isn't doing well, a variety of reasons they decide to drop out that way. And then also the other homeschool students who want something the school district can't offer. There's like whether it be a faith-based education or some other things that we're trying to look for. Are there ways that we can re-engage with either of those groups? Is there something we can offer? We can like reestablish a relationship. And then also, we've got kids within our walls that maybe aren't looking for a total alternative program, but need some credit recovery options. So it's kind of a two-pronged deal. And Mr. Embrock has already begun working on how we can better utilize our current credit recovery options, as well as identifying whether we need to make some policy tweaks or so he's kind of working on that and trying to get a better path for credit recovery. The admin team is kind of identifying some of the differences between the need for credit recovery and opportunities for high school students in an alternative program. Then we've set some goals on that, and those goals are to graduate more students. I forgot my glasses. To graduate more students from Lead-Deadwood, especially those not traditionally successful, to re-engage with homeschool students, and to attract and enroll more students from outside the district. It's just, so big part of this study is we're going to be reviewing policies in successful alternative programs. We're going to do some visits to alternative school programs and see if that is maybe a step we want to move towards, or see if that is feasible for us. And, something I keep saying, the decline in enrollment hits us a little bit differently than it does some of our neighboring school districts. The state aid schools, every kid that drops out or leaves the school is $7,000. You hate to equate kids to money, but with us being outside the state aid formula, if a kid walks out the door, it doesn't impact us immediate financial impact, but it impacts our capacity for serving the students we have. Like if we have a bigger core group, we have greater capacity, we can justify more staff, we can offer more to kids. And it's just a more robust, sustainable school program. So our impetus for trying to get kids on our walls is maybe a little different from some other schools. Tomorrow I'll be going before the School Finance Accountability Board, and have to justify why we have a 30.54% fund balance in the general fund. By state law, we're limited to a 30% fund balance, so we're 0.5% over. in our fund balance. And basically what that boils down to, there are a number of reasons for that. And one of them is, and this was for last year, for FY '25. So the accountability comes a year later. This is the first time that a non-state aid school has had to comply with this, that they just changed the law there. Now they can't withhold funding from us because they don't give us any. But one of the reasons for this is, we're making adjustments on that fund balance with a long-term strategy in mind. We're not just gonna irresponsibly spend down a fund balance, spend money to spend it. But over time, you lower levies, you levy less than the max, and you be good stewards of the resources, and you spend the money appropriately, and over time, you bring that fund balance into line. But one thing that happened was we had budgeted for a middle school CTE teacher last year. And if you all recall, like I was teaching middle school woodshop last year, because we had somebody, he signed a contract, he backed out of the contract, we weren't able to fill that. So that was about $80,000. And no, we don't pay a teacher $80,000. His salary wasn't $80,000, but that includes salary, benefits, taxes, the whole package, whole cost. Anyway, well, that was $80,000 that we didn't spend, that was in our budget. And then also we had a $150,000 transfer to food service. And, we've got a business manager that, I'm not saying it just because her husband is in the audience, but we got a business manager that is really on top of things. And, she doesn't make accounting errors, but, had she transferred that money or done a loan between funds early in the year, that would have solved the problem. But that just wasn't even on our radar. Like, we've been good stewards of this money. So that $150,000 transfer that happened in June, had it happened in October, no problem. Had we hired the CTE teacher, been successful there, which we did actually have. That was another example. We had a guy that we offered a position to, and he called us back and said, nah, I can't find a place to live. But anyway, so there's like a number of reasons why that fund balance was 0.5% over. And so I need to go present that case to the school finance accountability board and tell them what our corrective actions are gonna be. And those include lowering levies for FY '27. The FY '26 levies are already set, so we can't do anything about the current year. Making that food service transfer in October, Margie took care of that.
We did a loan, that you can see on the financial statement, there's a loan out of general fund to food service for $237,000. So we're about 27% in October.
And Margie and I both think this is silly, right? I mean, it's kind of a silly little rule.
It's just that because we try really hard to keep them, and they're going because of the time of the year that it was.
So she sighed and I cussed about it.
You did so well.
And we fixed it, so.
Yeah, and we're gonna budget for a little bit of a fund balance, to dip into that fund balance a little more the following year. So we're taking steps to bring it down, but also we need to be responsible. So Mr. Embrock and I and Zach had a quick little meeting with Amy Todd, kind of bringing Mr. Embrock up to speed on the vision for the Digger Depot and kind of realigning some things that we'd like to see in a really productive meeting. And one of the things I think that you're going to see coming out of that in the coming months is more availability of gold digger gear and apparel. We're kind of looking at ways that we can have that more readily available for the public. So that's a good thing. And then last thing, I'm trying not to be long-winded here, but we've got the Comprehensive Property Tax Task Force, and they've got a whole list of recommendations that they're gonna bring to the legislature. And these things, like some of them will be very impactful to schools. Some of them will be, not as impactful. And some of the things that they're proposing just aren't really gonna be feasible. There are also some things in there that we've got to be careful, and we've got to engage with our legislators, and we've got an opportunity next Monday. A couple of us are going to meet with some of our area legislators. I think we've really got to try and protect local control and not have the state overreaching and setting even more rules on how we manage things. But we can all, I think everybody in this room, maybe not the high school students, but I think everybody else in this room can really relate to a need for our property taxes to go down. I think we can all relate to that.
I think even the high school.
Their parents.
Yeah, property taxes, yeah, okay, so I'm not gonna read all of these, but I'm gonna read a couple that were brought forth by our representative. So Representative Odenbach is making a recommendation to create a new fund dedicated to state aid to education for school districts, general fund, and special education fund. And deposits into the state aid to education fund all state lottery revenues that are currently distributed to the state general fund. And those of you who were paying attention 30 years ago, that was supposed to be where video lottery was supposed to go. But also, again, keep in mind, those things are centered around state aid, and it kind of leaves us out in the cold. If we have a big property tax cut, I think we're in favor of that as property owners, but we've got to have some way to backfill that, not in the state aid formula, because that leaves us out in the cold. Also from Representative Odenbach, repeal the authorization for a school district to transfer monies from its capital outlay fund to its general fund. I think, again, that's a local control issue. And limit annual increases in school districts' capital outlay property taxes to the lesser of 3% or inflation, removing additional increases allowed from annexation, development of property, reclassification of property, termination of a tax increment financing district, and the application of the discretionary form. Okay, and then Senator Dybert, I know this stuff is riveting, but anyway, create a dedicated fund in the state treasury to replace the property tax portion of local effort for school district, general funds, and special education funds. So I think this might, I'd like to ask him more questions about this, because he's talking about local effort. And so that,
Will you read it?
as far as I know. Yeah. Any sources of revenue the committee chooses to put toward reducing the general fund and special education levies can be directed into this fund for that purpose. Then also Senator Dybert, create a local effort replacement fund in the state treasury used to replace a proportion of school districts' local effort from property taxes. And then on July 1, 2027, when the sunset date is reached for the sales and use tax rate reduction, deposit in the local effort replacement fund the additional revenue raised by the 0.3% increase from the current tax rate of 4.2%. Something I would like to see, and I don't know how practical this would be, I would like to maybe see a local effort sales tax that could offset property taxes. Now, if you think about that, I think in like Lead-Deadwood, and perhaps especially if you did a seasonal sales tax that could be earmarked for the school district, and then we would offset or reduce property taxes the following year by that amount. I think that could be a big boon for our property owners, because who pays the majority of our sales taxes in Lead-Deadwood? Yeah, so that's a thought I have, but nobody asks me or listens to me, so. Okay, that's my report. Do you want to share that report?
Yes.
Ken?
So nothing else?
Nope, that's it.
So then it looks like we have some stuff from Bill.
Yep, this is pretty short. So, we had a new door installed down in the elementary building. On second floor going out, quite down by the elevator. And then, last month, the last few blocks were set for the parking lot at the middle school. High school, that commercial oven that we got has been hooked up, so that's ready to go. Construction update, the sheetrock is almost done over there. They're gonna start, mudding and taping probably next week. And then, they're gonna be pouring some cement for the stoop, so, in the next day or two, so.
Else?
That's it.
That's it. All right, so we are now to the public forum. Did we have any additional, forms for them to the public forum? Okay. We have one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a timer or do you want me to do it?
So, the process of the public forum is I will just call your name because we have them already listed. So I'll just call it and then that gives you your opportunity to speak if you want to. We usually limit it to 2 minutes per person. And then we can extend them if need be. The board president can extend the time. The time is for public to discuss or express concerns to the Board of Education on policy and issues affecting the Lead-Deadwood School District and its function. Action will not be taken during the item. The board can choose to ask questions or not, but they don't have to. It's just a time for us to listen to what your concerns are. And then that's really kind of the process. We ask that you be respectful of anybody in the room. You cannot mention teachers' names, kids' names, that kind of thing. I will cut you off if that happens. So we try to kind of keep that where you're not mentioning students' names and things like that. So we are going to start. Mr. Klein, you're up first if you would like to.
To me, the core mission of the people sitting up here is education, taking care of our kids. And I guess I'm a little taken aback that all of a sudden we're going to get into the land development business. And I just, it bothers me. First off, I wish we would have done something 15 years ago. I own a couple chunks of ground and people through the years have asked me to sell it to them and, I held off. And now 20 years later, I'm looking at it and the value has gone way higher. And so I keep getting this sense of urgency that we got to get something done right away. And if you haven't driven up Greer Avenue, you ought to drive up there and see all the activity that's going on. It looks like a kaleidoscope up there. There's flags everywhere. There's paint all up and down the street. And, I guess I get the idea that not much is going on. But when you drive up there and see what's going on, there's a lot going on. And I'm concerned that there won't be sufficient public exposure to all this before decisions actually get made. And the taxpayers are, what we're talking about is the money that the taxpayers are putting forth, because that's where the school gets their money, is from us. And so I'm very concerned about, and I live up on Greer Avenue. I'm one of those guys. And the taxes aren't cheap. And I'm concerned that everything that we're talking about doing here is going to end up raising the taxes even more. And
All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
So the next person is Keith.
I live right next door to Greg, 366 Greer Avenue. I bought my house 13 years ago because it had a beautiful view. And I probably paid an extra $50,000 to $70,000 for that view. And so I'm not really, interested in having a tiny house, a bunch of those in front of us. But there's other things, that we've talked about. Maybe there's some other things that you guys can look at to help students in. And I see a lot of school, almost every school is paying back student loans for students. I don't know if there's any of that going on here or not. But that's the biggest thing. I got friends that are teachers. I got friends that are in North Dakota that are one of the teacher. And I'm here to stay. I'm on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. And I just and I'm a little disappointed in what we've learned so far. We should have got a little bit better intel on what the plans are and stuff like that. But I just want to know what was going on.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson?
I'm not gonna stand up. My legs kind of hurt me, but, I'm a developer and I'm just concerned that you guys know the true costs of doing this. I mean, I understand the infrastructure costs and then you also have the housing cost. So I mean, most of my questions I had for tonight were answered. And I'm looking forward to the public forum. But I just want to caution you on what the costs are going to be in this endeavor. And I guess I'll echo what Greg said about it's taxpayers' dollars we're talking about here. And I know it's capital outlay that you're looking at right now, but that still comes from taxpayers' dollars. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Louis?
I still think, there's a lot of information that we haven't heard out here, but it seems to me that, we're trying to rush it through, we have to have this meeting and then maybe have a vote. I guess I'm not really understanding if they were just trying to vote on the lots or the whole process, but I think that we need to pump the brakes a little bit too, and if it's, I don't know why we have to have it in December, maybe we can have it pushed off a little bit further and have people involved in it a little bit more.
Thank you. Rory?
Yeah, I guess a lot of questions were answered for me also. I'm glad to hear you're gonna have another meeting. And my concern, I'm echoing what Bill says too, is the cost. I work sanitary district and infrastructure and I mean, it runs into hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And it doesn't look like it's something that school should be dealing with. The school should not be in the business of housing and whether it's little houses, whatever. If you can't get teachers, you need to raise the pay. That's my opinion. If they're not making enough money to live, you gotta give them a raise. And that land was there for a rainy day. If the rainy day has come, then sell it. But sell it and do not put our money into it. Make money, don't spend it. What's that?
You have 1 minute.
1 minute?
Yep.
Anything else?
Yeah, and I do think whatever you come up with, there needs to be a vote of the people. Because there's a lot of people in town that voice their opinion and they're against it, but they won't come here and do it because they have family members that work here. They do work for the school. A number of reasons, it's a small community. It's the largest employer and nobody wants to be that guy. But if they can vote anonymously, then you'll get a true reading of what you have. So anyway, thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you guys. And then, is that Mike?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay, Mike.
I had a guy approach me tonight, just before the meeting, that's looking for buying a house up there. And he said, as long as those houses are going up from Mountain View all the way up in front of Greg's house, he said, I'm not gonna buy it. And so I think the view is important. I think you're gonna run into so much expense using that land. I'd really like to know where that lot, okay, there's that empty lot right there in the corner of Greer and Mountain View. But where does your guys' property start when you go on Greer Street?
It's right around my corner.
Is it marked or anything?
If there is a mark, I believe the corner's marked.
Because I'll get there.
There's a plat too. It's a platted lot, the whole thing is, so.
But I think, but if you're gonna put a bunch of tiny houses along Greer Street up there, it's gonna devalue the houses that are up there. I mean, so then, if you're gonna go ahead and do that, is our valuations are gone? Or we're not gonna have to pay them the stacking on our houses? Because you're gonna start devaluating stuff. If you're gonna be putting 400, 500 square foot houses up there. I mean, I bought a lot right behind me, simply because I didn't want somebody to dig that out. And so now, I mean, I'm paying 3 times as much on taxes than what I paid for 3 years ago. Because you start digging some of that stuff out, you're gonna have nothing but problems. And I don't think you guys realize, I was talking to the developer in Spearfish, and to just go ahead and put infrastructure, sidewalks, stuff like that in, it's gonna run $200,000 a lot. That's a flat ground.
All right, well, thank everybody for your comments. You know, if and when the date that we decide to hold another public meeting, it'll be out there. We'll put it on, just like normal, you can look at the agendas every single time, it'll be on there. And I'm sure for something like this, like, so everybody knows when it'll be. We don't have a timeline yet, so I can't even share you a specific date because we don't know yet. So, but we appreciate the comments, and that's kind of why we're holding them this way, so we can collect the comments and have them. So we appreciate that. So I think that's it for audience wise. We are gonna go into executive session for the superintendent's evaluation. So if you guys want to hang out, you can, but you don't have to. Executive session. Yeah.